Welcome to System Dynamics Online Tutorials. In this session we're going to cover purchase order print. Within the distribution module under purchase order we have the purchase order processing, and one of the processes in here is to do a purchase order print. What this application allows me to do is actually print a hard copy or process the entered purchase order into the system. I can do this for any given range of purchase orders or any given range of vendors, as well as being controlled by branch, a specific warehouse, or even a specific buyer. So I can get all purchase orders out of the system for a given warehouse, or all purchases out of the system for a given buyer who's responsible for those items on those purchase orders. I can print or reprint the actual purchase order in the case of, say, the printer jamming or the purchase vendor not receiving the PO. I can at any point in time come back here and actually reprint the purchase order up until the time that the actual PO was receipted against. In this particular instance, the purchase order is defaulted for all purchase orders, all vendors. I can simply choose the default branch of one. My warehouse, I can use a list of values to actually pull the warehouses that I want to print the purchase orders for, and I could even give it a certain buyer if I wanted to. If I leave it blank, it will show me all purchases for this warehouse in this branch. The print flags over here allow me to, depending upon the vendor, will print the purchase order or not print the purchase order, hard copy on paper. Create electronic interchange format, which is these are all system defaulted as yes. If the vendor was an EDI vendor, then this particular purchase order would go out in an electronic interchange format and be created on the system. If he was an email vendor, then the purchase order would automatically be emailed to the vendor. And likewise with the fax, if he was set up as a vendor to receive faxes, the system, assuming that the fax software which is required is installed on the network and everything is set up, then a purchase order would automatically be faxed out to that particular vendor. If we choose to print the electronic data interchange purchase order, or print the email purchase order, or print a fax purchase order, those are all done as well, and we actually simply by defaulting this, all of this is done, and if the vendor within this range falls into any one of these categories, that specific task is done at that point in time. Reprint partially received, if I had a purchase order that had receipted against, I would could put a reprint in here of the given purchase order that I want, and actually reprint the partially received flag as yes, and that would reprint as well. Print of a receiving copy is up until I have actually done a receipt, I can print a receiving copy for that particular item. Useful if there needs to be signing or approval authority at the receiving copy end, for the receivers to receive against. If not, once the purchase order is actually received, there's no way of getting a print receiving copy out. If we exclude purchase order, closed purchase order lines, that will allow us to not see the cluttering of purchase lines that were entered and then closed off later. If we actually want to see them, that once was on the purchase order, then we can actually uncheck that and those would be displayed. The system is to exclude them and only print out what was on the purchase order. So if we leave this as print, and we come in here and we want all of the purchase orders print for OM that's available to be printed, we accept all of the system defaults on the screen, we simply execute the PO print, and this particular application, since we're asking to create the EDI format, it will give the file name and the location of where this is going to be created, and it will go out and actually create that, and then the standard run program batch or online will come up. We'll run this to screen, and we should come up with a purchase order for the OM warehouse, or multiple purchase orders since I've done it for the entire warehouse. And here we come out with our purchase order that was entered previously. or a series of purchase orders. And it's a standard purchase order print, which could be customizable and may look different on your system. As far as the layout, this pretty well just shows the vendor who it's going to, the ship to location, specific message, the purchase order number 8131, the order date, the expiry date, ship via, any terms, and the actual detail of the specific purchase order. There's more than one page here, so I know that there's multiple POs out here. There's another purchase order, and I can. That's what all there is there for that particular warehouse. 8135 and 8131. This normally would be printed on the hard copy printer according to the format, etc., and then actually sent out to the vendor. And that concludes the purchase order print application.